on my mind, I can't think straight. Started in 1991, hope it ain't no end date.
What's good, y'all? Welcome to another episode of the GinTV podcast. As always, got your boy Eazy in the building.
It's your boy Manu.
And A1DasauceGod.
Got a little whisper going on today, but all right, trying to be sexy. Nah. Okay. But today we got a very special guest. We got our boy, possibly president one day. I don't know. I mean, we don't know what the future holds for this man, but we got Trayvonn Diaz, a senator's aide. You know what I'm saying? Like someone that works in local politics, bro. Like so what's up with you, man? How you doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for the introduction. What's up, guys? Actually, you could consider it local, but because I work for the senator, it's kind of federal, so kind of touching both ends.
Put some respect on his name.
Big stepper, big stepper, my bad.
It's U.S. government.
All right, we got the IRS in the building, all right?
He's working for America.
So, yo, how did you... Yo, because I knew you from when you was younger, and I kind of saw you as like a kid that just joked around, didn't really take shit too serious.
You can say that.
How did you, like, because I feel like to get into politics, you got to have like a gear change. How did you get into politics?
Well, I would say I've always kind of been into politics in a sense, and it's two-handed. So when I was younger, like started at 9 years old, I used to hold the signs outside of the polling stations, you know, get people to vote, hand out literature. Then I evolved into, you know, giving people rides to the poll stations. Just that's been my experience.
You was doing that, like, in high school?
Yeah, doing that from 9 years old, 11 years old. Every 2 years, there'd be a campaign, and you know, mayoral or you know, for a state rep.
I mean,
that's how I got into it.
Yeah, that's starting really early. Like
Super.
From 9 years old.
Super. It wasn't my interest. Like,
is your mom or dad in politics? Like, did they make you do this?
My family was partially into politics, and
all right.
What is who in your family is actually like a political figure?
Well, my brother was. He's no longer in politics. So I've kind of taken the torch on that end, and so I feel like I had that goofiness to me still.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was mostly because I wasn't the one that was pushing myself to be in politics, if that makes sense.
Okay.
If it was me, I would have been serious about it, you know? So that's how I got my start, in a sense.
So to actually get into it, like, do you have to have a degree? Like what schooling or what do you have to do to actually, like, say right now, right? Like, I want to get where you are. What's my first step? Yeah.
So there are tons of levels of politics. Specifically to get to where I am, you do need a college degree. I would recommend like bachelor's in political science or something like that. But there's a strenuous interview process. You got to maybe even do an internship like within the Senate or within Congress or something like that. It's not as easy as kind of just going for a job and applying or whatever. But there are positions that you could go for, you know, even if you're just in high school, you could start working on a campaign. You know, they pay for some of those positions. You could become a field organizer and just work your way up. I've seen people do that. And a lot of people do that because they want to get a sense of, you know, what sort of work you already do. Like they want to get to know if you're a hard worker, if you're dedicated into politics, what are your interests? So they kind of test you out with an internship or, you know, a campaign, and then you move on from there.
Did you always want to be in politics? Or was it just like because your family did it is the reason why you did?
That's a good question. I'd say because my family did it is how I got mostly interested in it. But I actually wanted to be a police officer, and my mother told me that was not happening. Okay. So I was like, all right.
Great advice. Shout out to moms. That's not what you want to be in today's weather.
That's right. I would have been looking dumb right about now. But I think I'm on the right side of the coin. But
I might not fuck with you. You might not be introduced.
I might not be here right now, but no, it really was, you know, a family thing that developed into sort of a passion.
Okay. All right. So do you see yourself staying in politics for like the rest of your life, or like until you retire?
Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, if you're one of the lucky ones, you get to stay as long as possible. But politics can be kind of tumultuous.
Okay.
Really, you know, it can take a lot of life out of you. It's draining. You know, some people's political careers don't last as long, depending on what you get into. Right. Like, it's really about survival of the fittest. Scandals are a fact.
Oh yeah. Yo, talking about scandals. So building your credentials, like how is that process into actually getting yourself in the door in terms of actual people pushing you in that direction and sponsoring you? Because there's a lot of corruption in the political game. But for you, how specifically did you get like pushed into it, or somebody sponsor you?
Yeah. So I can really only speak to me because
All right.
so many people at so many levels, like the game can get dirty in a sense.
Okay.
And if you back somebody, you might be disrespecting another person.
All right,
so I
all
try
right.
to stay, in my lane in a sense, and only speak for me when I'm not in the work sense.
I hear what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not in the upper ranks yet, right? Do
Right.
you think it's actually possible to move up? Because you work under the senator, right? Right now.
Yeah.
Like to get where he's at, like obviously we can't say, like, I don't know, you don't know, you probably know some shit that you can't say right now, right? Don't want to lose your job. I feel you on that. But like, you think it's possible to make it like to the level of presidency to like without being corrupt or dirty or bought out? Because I feel like anytime you hear something about a politics, right, or somebody, an official, it's always like that shit about them, right? Like, oh, he over here killing fucking ducks with oil, like just some shit, right? Like, we gotta drown him with Dawn soap, like,
yeah. And it's not even, it can't even be to that extent. Like, if a staff member on that team does something, you could lose your position in Congress. You know what I mean? Like, there's gonna be an inside office scandal that can get you to lose your seat.
Like,
even if you're not part of it.
Even if you're not part of it.
Even if the top guy isn't part of it, like the person like that works for them,
that person gets blamed. Yeah. So
also the vetting system, like to build the team must be like crazy.
They take it seriously.
Have you seen somebody?
Not personally, but I can say that people have gotten opportunities because of scandals that have happened in the past.
All right.
So, I'm trying really hard not to say any specific names, but there's a congresswoman in Connecticut that lost her seat due to someone in her office that had a domestic situation.
Okay.
So that's actually
like a domestic case.
Domestic case, yeah. I don't know how people didn't hear about that as much, but I
Which
just
is
tried to
crazy
get into it.
They buried that shit, man.
It gets buried under the rug, bro.
Which is crazy because it seems like that's more on like a personal level. Like they had a domestic case, but in their personal life, which isn't even really a scandal per se. Like you're not embezzling money, you're not doing anything illegal. You just had a dispute with a partner or somebody that you ran into, and now this congresswoman lost her seat because
that's a good point. Yo, cause it's crazy, right? Like, say you walking on your wife getting trained, like you just gotta take that shit to the chin. Like
it's tough.
You can't really do shit, man.
Listen, there could be a day I'm driving down the street that could change my political career. You know what I mean? Like there's just things you gotta be careful with.
Are you very conscious of what you post on social media?
I always have been. Not even just social media. Any sort of interaction where I feel like it could escalate, like I have to be more conscious about that, and I have to make certain choices on social media. And I feel like if you go on my social media, you probably won't see much. Like I post a few times. Most of the time it's informational because you have to come from a stance of protecting yourself in politics. And you also have to come from a stance of bigging yourself up too. So people are like, oh, politics, politicians talking about all this stuff that he's done lately. Like that's not real or all this stuff. But really that politician has to put out the good because so many people are talking about the bad.
Do you really feel like you're living life though? Like it feels like you're
seems limiting, right?
It is limiting.
You're constrained into like not being like you're so focused on not fucking up and like not losing your job and also possibly somebody else's job. Yeah, that it's like you can't really enjoy life. Like you're not like the rest of us.
No, that's big. That's big. So you have to kind of separate yourself from everybody else in a sense because some people might have the liberty to chug one of these bottles, and just go about their night or whatever.
Right.
But you have to sort of focus on, what people catch from that, what perspective they get from that. And it is kind of taxing, but you have to also understand that there's like a bigger mission to it. Like what I want to accomplish is for the benefit of my city or my state. It's not only just me. So I have to put those, my drive to turn up all the time or whatever.
Because it's not Trey fucked up. It's Trey Diaz, the senator's aide fucked up.
Yeah, exactly.
I was thinking about that. That's crazy because like somebody could be watching this shit right now and you haven't even touched the bottles, right? But because we just keep them there for props at this point.
Yeah.
But like, they could look at this shit like, this dude's an alcoholic.
Judgment is like that. Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like you have to put yourself out there in a way that tells people your story as opposed to them just.
He's over here drinking a Sprite.
I gotta keep it sober with the brand on it.
I thought that was some lean, but
double maxed up.
No colors, no colors.
So right now, like, we're in Connecticut, right? Like, who are our senators? Because I don't know.
So every state has two United States senators. So that's those folks in Congress that are in the Senate as opposed to the House representatives. So we have Blumenthal and Murphy. I specifically work for Senator Murphy, but Blumenthal is the senior senator, which means he's basically been in that position longer than the junior senator.
Okay.
And they both get assigned to specific committees that make decisions for the state. I mean, for the nation, but they use Connecticut as like a case study. So like, this is what's going on in my state, my home state, and this is how it reflects to the nation, and this is why we should be paying attention to it.
So you just said that there's 2 senators for every state, right? Is it like, are they on the same team kind of thing, or is it like a Democrat and Republican, right? Like they just have opposing views, or like do they clash, or is it like, are they usually on the same page?
Typically on the same page, because I feel like, especially when it comes to like blue states or specifically red states, there's not a lot of indecision. Like you stick to that party. You know what I mean? So Connecticut, I can't even remember last time they had a Republican or a red.
Yeah, we're predominantly Democratic.
Right.
We're
so
blue
so we stick to that. And Waterbury sticks to that.
What are you?
I'm a Democrat for sure.
Democrat?
For sure. I'm not just saying that because of my job. Like I've been a Democrat.
So who'd
for
you
a long
vote for?
time. Who did I vote for?
Yeah. This last presidency.
Biden, for sure.
I
did vote for Biden, yeah.
Yo, okay. I'm so surprised. Yo, I swear, like when you ask somebody who they voted for, bro, I feel like you ask them for like their social security number. People get so defensive about that shit. And honestly, I feel like that's bullshit, right? If you voted for someone, you better stand on that shit. You feel me?
Yeah,
like
definitely.
I don't get why people are ashamed of who they vote. Cause like, yo, you made that decision, so now live with that shit. You feel me? Don't be ashamed. Like, yo, if you was a Trump supporter before, like, stand for whatever reason. You feel me? Stand on that shit. Don't be like, I don't want to talk about politics. Like, bro, you was just telling me like about the threesome you just had. Like, now this is too personal.
Right,
like, this is where we cut the line.
Where we draw the line
right.
at.
We actually have a Trump supporter that is like a friend of ours, and he supports the shit out of Trump. But
isn't that interesting? Like how you don't find people in the middle. It's like one side or the other, and they're
honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I'm in the middle.
No,
you're in the middle.
Yeah.
Yo, I consider myself in the middle because when it comes to like pro-choice and like a lot of shit, I'm very liberal. I'm like, yo, do what you want to do. Like me personally, one of my stances, yo, I think all drugs should be legal.
Okay.
And a lot of people disagree with that, right? But my thing for that is like, yo, what's the definition of insanity, right? Like to keep trying the same thing over and over expecting different results, right? Like drugs have been illegal for like what, 200 years? Nothing changes, right? Like you arrest a crack dealer today, he's gonna get replaced tomorrow, right? So like that's like one thing I'm real liberal on. But I can really be conservative when it comes to money. Like
I knew you were gonna say that. That's everybody's thing. It's like when it comes to social aspects, people are like, "Oh, let's be liberal. We got to think of people." But when it comes to money, people are so tight about how their tax money gets spent.
So you think my answer right now is like the basic answer for most people?
If you aren't liberal, if you can't say I'm liberal or you can't say I'm conservative, then that's where you go.
Okay.
It's like fiscally conservative. Yeah, that's what I call it. Like fiscally conservative and liberal in other aspects. Because in that kind of, you kind of cutting this conversation short because you're saying, I want the best for people. I want, a betterment of life for my community. But if it's going to cost such and such.
Nah, when I say cost, I'm for funding a lot of stuff.
Okay.
Like, I'm not against that. Like when I say conservatives, like I feel like, or financially conservative, I mean like I see a lot of free handouts for people that don't deserve it. Yeah. That have the capability to earn. Like that's where I kind of like like for funding for like, like was it Planned Parenthood? Like they was trying to cut that shit or something like that's crazy to me, right? Like I think a lot of our money gets wasted on the military when it should be wasted, or not even wasted. Like it should be should be funding so much more other stuff, which would progress us as a country.
Like the infrastructure. Like we need more allocation of funds in. I'm an engineer and I'm working with bridges, so whenever there's a situation where I could allocate more money towards infrastructure, because our bridges are falling apart.
Yeah, and I bet you in your role you probably drive by something and you're like, oh, that's not.
Oh I look at it all the time.
Yeah, it stays with you. Yeah.
Like people drive over that.
I was thinking about honestly, like you do that, right? I work at a hospital, so basically, a lot of hospitals are funded by the government. Like we get a lot of like federal funding, you feel me?
And health clinics too.
Exactly, because a lot of hospitals cannot are rarely profitable nowadays, right? Because nobody has health insurance, you feel me? Right. So now you come into the hospital, you get free care, so like I feel like a lot of the money should basically be funding us, because like as a hospital employee, like we're so short staffed, but the hospital's not making enough money where they could hire more. Like it's just like, and then you work with like your individuals, like was also funded by the government, like, and I'm pretty sure you guys have like your like issues where you need more
absolutely
money.
Like I feel like there's a disconnect between the state and the actual. So there's DDS, which is part of the state services, and then there's DSS, which is more of a federal thing.
Right.
And sometimes there's a disconnect between, you know, funding between the two.
Yeah.
So, and which trickle down to the third party companies as well.
Yeah.
So Trey, what are you gonna do about this, man? You just heard all our problems. What are you gonna do about it?
I can give you the answer I'd give you if I was working, probably. So
what do you think? All right, let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
What do you think should be done about it?
So I'll skip the military part because that can be contentious. You might get somebody hitting in the DMs or whatever. But I think
off air, give us the answer on that one, right?
yeah.
We got the infrastructure. We got the hospitals. And we got the
services.
Yeah, the services.
Well, you'll be happy to know that all three of those areas, if not already have received funding, are going to receive funding from the federal government.
I heard.
Yeah,
I heard about that.
But the thing is, people have sort of had problems with that because it took something like COVID. It took something to get us $1 trillion package.
Yep.
And only a portion of that, maybe like 2% or a little bit more, is going to Connecticut. So people have problems with that, but when, in the grand scheme, like that's $50 million or $50 billion going toward infrastructure, few $100 million going toward health clinics and hospitals and stuff like that. And
I really didn't even know like that.
So I do updates, like email updates, like pretty much put those all out there for people across my county, my district.
Is there like a website that you put this on, like that we can see?
It's all email. But if you go to one of the senator's websites, you can sign up for an email list and find all this out. But the catch-22 is that funding just came. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
it's not like you're constantly getting funding. Like the military is constantly getting funded because they have new ventures.
Yeah.
They have to
New
cover pensions.
wars to start. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to go bomb Afghanistan again, or some poor country.
And you know, when you're always accepting soldiers, accepting people to come in, you got to pay for those people to stay, and also the people that retire, the people that have disabilities.
Yeah, that's true.
So it gets expensive for the military, but so that's why I try not to touch it too much.
I'm definitely a veteran supporter.
Absolutely. I got family that's been in the military.
Oh yeah, your older brother.
Right. He's in the Air Force. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like your answer was more on like a macro level. I'm not beating you up.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Your answer was more on a macro level, but on a micro scale, I feel like a lot of this funding that we say coming out doesn't really. The people that are at the bottom don't really see that funding. So for me personally, I'm not into politics because I feel like they preach that these things are going to happen, or, you know, this is my plan, but yet nothing really gets done.
Selling you a dream.
Exactly. So what would you say to those people, or to people that think like me?
I'd say there's kind of two ways to look at it. There's a part where you're in it and there's a part where you're not. And most people like to talk about it from an outside lens,
right?
But those aren't the people that call into the office every day, talk about certain issues that are going on in their community. And I feel like if you're more active with it, you could have better results in a sense, not just individually but collectively.
Yeah, I mean, I just shit on everybody on Facebook.
Yeah,
I don't like.
How far is that gonna get you? Is what I'm saying. Like if you
5 retweets,
you gotta be like Trey, yo. You gotta actually get into the politics and make the change.
I mean, well, walk us through it. Like, let's just say on a personal level, I have an issue with something in politics. What are the steps that I can take to actually make a difference in my community?
Yeah. So my first week on the job, working under the senator, I met the first lady I met on my own. You know, we do like kind of training and you know, walking out. It's outreach. So pretty much I'm getting to know the community, setting up events and all that understanding. First week, the first woman I met with told me that she had an issue with all the leaves, the leaf bags getting, you know, piled up outside her block. I'm like, this is the worst issue I've ever experienced. Like, I was upset. Like, why am I here dealing with this? You know what I mean? But it made me realize
my whole
the
life
spectrum.
for this shit.
It made me realize the spectrum. And what she did was she pretty much called the office, introduced herself, told me where she lived, maybe what organization she was a part of, and what her issue was. And because I was out in the area meeting individuals, I was able to connect with her and get a sense of it. And in the position that I'm in, I'm really like a connector. So like if you have a specific issue and you don't necessarily know where to go to, like you can come to me and I'll be able to help you.
Okay.
You know,
Yo, just try to talk. Yo, Trey,
Right.
just try to talk a little bit more into the mic.
Got you.
Yeah.
But the problem is when we talk about solving some of those macro issues, like I can't solve the lack of funding that's going into schools on my own. You know what I mean? I need the Board of Education to be involved. I need the parents to be involved. I need the city representatives. I need the state. So it's all on different levels. And the good thing about Waterbury is we don't have like we have more infighting, which is like, you know, like, I don't know, Waterbury people probably call it set tripping or whatever. Like it's like fighting within the party, you know what I mean?
Yeah, okay.
But like we don't have a lot of obstacles when it comes to Republican, like, you know, holding us back or holding up legislation. So we can get a lot done, but we need the people, we need the resources and stuff like that. So it's hard to answer that question too specifically without a specific example. Okay. But I would say the first step.
I got an
yeah, let's do it.
Like, but it's like actually a micro one, right? Like, yeah. Like if I want to get a fucking pothole filled in, like, how do I do that shit? Like, cause when I tell you, like, bro, like the city owes me new rims. Like,
I feel you.
Like, how do I fix a pothole?
Honestly, that's one of the reasons I left Waterbury, because of
the potholes.
I just gotta put that out there.
them things keep coming back too, like the same spot, like where they filled it in.
They fill them in. That's why, because they're not redoing it.
Okay. I actually know why some of the potholes are happening is because whenever like let's say you guys build a new road, right, and you pave it, and then somebody's water main bursts, and you got to dig it up, and then put a new water main in there, and then they backfill it, and then they pave it, but they don't compact it or they don't do it correctly, right? There's no inspector by the private company that's doing it. So I feel like there should be inspectors out there making sure that these private entities that are fixing the water mains are actually have an inspector out there making sure that everything's getting done correctly. Right. And I feel like that's something that, you ever drive by a job site and you just see a bunch of people just standing around
all the time.
Like, there's a reason, because there's like an inspector, there's a foreman, there's this guy, there's that guy, there's a state guy, and sometimes there isn't nobody. So that's where the potholes start happening.
Okay.
So
that makes sense.
But basically, if I want to get like a pot, like on a micro scale, right? Like, what's my next step? Who do I call?
So you would have to go through the city.
Okay.
The problem that people have with that sort of stuff is like, it's kind of like the DMV. All aspects are kind of like the DMV. Like the government
just moves slow.
Yeah, it's a bureaucracy. Slow. We have steps, we have procedures. We have to get certain permissions and things like that. Like, for example, if we want to even work on a case for you, like let's say you lost your passport or you got a kid that got left behind, for example, in another country, and you have to figure out how to work that. Like, there's avenues that we have to go through to get that done. And on the city level, I can't speak to too much, but I'm assuming it'd be pretty much the same thing. You'd have to go through certain channels.
Okay.
I want to say, I wish they paid a little bit more attention to that, because there's a street light that I requested like last year.
Wait,
I'm still waiting.
Wait, you're having trouble? I said my shit ain't getting resolved, bro.
Yeah, the request bin is right next to the trash bin.
Yeah, they just toss them. I don't know what they do, honestly, but that's the procedure.
You working this shit and you can't get a light fix?
I can't tell you what to do.
Well, I mean, you kind of brought up a good point. So for the people that don't know me specifically, like, what is the difference between something on your level versus something on a city level? Like, what should we be calling you for versus what should we be calling the city for?
Great question. So there's I'd say 3 levels. It can get deeper than that, but federal, which is, where I work, which is like the capital, everything that happened like on January 6th, that's a part of my role in a sense. And then the state level, obviously the governor, state representatives, all of that. And then you have the city level, which is like aldermen, aka city council, board of ed, and the mayor and things like that.
Yeah.
So they are going to handle pretty much the operation of the day-to-day city, and they get a lot of their funding directly from. I wouldn't say a lot of their funding directly from the federal government, but some, and most of their funding comes from the state government, who acts as a fiduciary, which is pretty much, I hold the money. You tell me what you're going to spend it on. Let me know that this is what you spent it on, and I'll give it to you.
Okay.
And that's kind of how like a lot of the money moves. It's like through the state from the federal government. So again, that's a process in and of itself. Like, it takes a while for the money to get to the state, and it takes a while from the state to the city.
You guys got that 80-20 rule? The 80% federal, 20% state?
No, it really depends on the specific venture. So, like, the police department is actually applying for a grant for body cams. They got like 600.
We need those.
600K for body cams. And
600K.
600K.
Bro,
and
then
then
go buy some GoPros.
For real.
Literally. But the city matches that fund, and that's how some of that grant money comes in.
It's crazy. They're gonna spend 600 on that shit just for them to turn it off before they beat somebody ass.
Honestly, that's another topic that I want to cover on, because we see a lot of shootings nowadays, and the body cam, the dash cam and the body cam is like actually playing a major role in showing the truth of what's going on with cops and predominantly minority or Black Americans. And I wanted to know, like, from your point of view, what kind of legislations, how can we move forward? Because we see like the Devontae White situation that just recently happened, and it was a lieutenant, a Black lieutenant that was apprehended by the cops.
Yep.
What kind of legislation can we put in place to make sure that cops are not necessarily protected through their negligence?
That is a big issue. But I will say, last year, when everything was happening around June, July, last summer, Black Lives Matter movements,
right.
The CT legislature, which is basically this, the state government, put together a proposal to kind of take a little bit of the responsibility from the police officers and putting some accountability on them. And I feel like that is the most surefire way to do it. You got to make the police or whatever entity
be held responsible,
accountable. Yeah. And in police unions, they have more protection. In other forms of
the police union is a gang. Like
they got your back. They know you did it. They see the video.
It's like an organized mafia.
Call it what you want. It's tough out there, but I'm telling you, like, if you don't change the legislation, some cops just won't have the level of accountability to even get into any legal trouble. It's not like maybe the cop feels guilty and is like, I deserve to be in there for a couple years, and everybody else is like, this is gonna taint the image of police officers, so let's not even go there. You know what I mean? Because it's like you're fighting an idea more so than the individual that specifically did that.
Right.
You're fighting the idea.
It's just
of police
not him.
protection.
It's just like it's because it happens weekly at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Unfortunately.
So,
well, what are your personal thoughts? I don't even know if you can answer this on the whole defunding the police.
I would say
drops bombs.
See, I was trying to stay away from the military, but a lot of people can get worked up about it. It's really why I try to stay away from it. But I think we should defund some aspects of the police. They get like military grade equipment, like they get tanks almost in a sense. You know what I mean? And we're just humans. Like the most we can get is a pistol permit.
Yeah.
And like, what are they truly afraid of? Is what I think of. And I feel like if money were going into like social workers to be with the police officers to handle with, folks with mental disabilities that might be having an episode, then I'm open to talking about that sort of stuff.
Because not to cut you off, but personally, like whenever one of the individuals at my job has an episode, we call the police, and they're coming over there with guns, and that can well,
they come like guns ready?
Not guns ready, but they have their guns on them, and a lot of times the image of a police officer is like, I'm going to jail, or like they're gonna shoot me, especially being like some of these Black individuals that are higher functioning. They know what's going on, so it's almost like it kind of rouses up the behavior even more rather than a social work. I think the great thing, and I don't know if it's just Waterbury specifically, but what they'll do is St. Mary's will send out like a social worker or behavioralist to the scene as well to kind of talk them down out of it. But I feel like now, what if it's not somebody that's in a program? Like, what if it's somebody that lives
out on the street? Like, because there's a lot of homeless people out here that like, you don't know what they're gonna do. You don't know what like their mental stability is like.
And
I'm gonna actually drop a bomb on you, Trey. But I'm not about defunding the police. I'm about having higher qualified police people. Like, I'm not opposed to like, all right, you could pay them a higher salary, but the credentials has to be higher. Like, you can't just come out of high school and not have a broad aspect or outlook on life. Like, you have to have higher level education. You have to have higher training, higher level training with the people that you're actually going to be in the community with, or people that you're actually going to be protecting.
Yeah.
A lot more crisis resolution training as well.
A lot of that training, actually, a lot of the police officers get most of their training in firearms. So if they shift some of that training, I feel like we'd be in a better state.
They're getting trained
Just
to
shoot.
kill.
Yo, they're doing their job.
That's
literally
it.
so that they're doing what they're expected to do.
Yo, but like,
it shouldn't be that way.
obviously, I think like in Connecticut, fortunately, I mean, I really don't know because sometimes I don't know where these things happen, right? I don't think we've had too many of these incidents in Connecticut per se, right? But like, when these things happen, like, what's the word around the office? Like, is that like something you guys talk about? Is it like, or is it just like,
that's a city problem?
You know, I was, you know, what'd you guys do this weekend? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, people feel like there's a disconnect between what goes on in the office, or rather, what goes on in Connecticut versus what goes on in the office. Like, we're affected by it. Like, everybody, like, reads the news every day.
Yeah,
like, everybody's in the know. So if there's something that I don't know, I walk into the office, I'm gonna find out the details like that day. So, you know, there's like a heaviness that comes, you know, in our office, but it's not like us as individuals have the power to do it. Really, we look toward the senator, we look toward the mayor of that town, like, and we might be able to kind of persuade them to maybe, you know, let out a press release early or talk about certain topics, but it's really like it can be individualized. Yeah. Like,
I mean, but what would that do? Yeah. Like, what would a press release do for somebody that has a black American that's gotten
honestly,
shot?
Honestly, what I just got out of this conversation is that cops are trained to kill. They're not trained to reason. They're trained to kill.
Nah,
we need various different, you know, various types of training. We need you know, more social aspects sort of work. And I think what'd you say about defunding? Like, there's an issue that you have with that. I'm not towards defunding. I'm more towards like making it a higher
standard, higher quality.
Like,
so that's what I want to talk about. If you got the
license to kill, like, you should be at a higher standard. Go ahead.
Yeah, but you know, you can have somebody that's a police officer that's physically fit, has a level of intelligence, but let's talk about their opinions. Let's talk about why they joined as a police officer. There's a lot that we don't get to see in Connecticut, baby. Maybe like Mississippi, they're wilding out there. Like, they could be joining because of a specific issue. Like, oh, these people are moving into the neighborhood. I think
you're talking about like, you know, like race related.
We don't know what's going on in a police officer's head. You know what I mean? So I think there has to be a level of fielding for that, in a sense, especially with what's going on.
That's a valid point. Like, one thing that I think, and I think it's a very I don't think women should be cops.
Oh,
go into it.
I saw that recently.
Let's talk about it.
Oh, there's a video about it?
Yeah, I saw that recently.
This has always been my personal view on it. And obviously, a lot of women are going to say this shit and just disagree with it flat out because it's sexist.
Cut it off right here.
You're misogynist.
Cancel him.
I used to like these guys.
Cancel GinTV.
Unsubscribed. Dislike.
But yo, my thought of it is, right, a cop, like, I think me personally, as a cop, like, if someone doesn't have a gun pointed at you, you shouldn't have your gun pointed. Like, using your gun as a police officer should be your last resort, right? So before that, you have to physically apprehend someone, right? You have to be strong enough to stop them, right? This big motherfucker comes at some lady. Like, what is she gonna do?
She's gonna shoot him.
What is she gonna do, right? Because she's gonna feel threatened for her life, which she really is, right? Like, bro, like, I've seen some female cops that's literally 5 feet.
Yeah,
like,
I thought it was a taser.
Yeah,
exactly. Yo, I feel like there's obviously some women out there that are capably fit and probably lesbians, but like, I feel like a lot of women are not physically strong enough to take on a guy, right? And I feel like when you're taking on a job that's pretty much focused on apprehending people, like, you have to be physically fit for it. Like, it should, like, a gun should not be your first choice. And I feel like that's what these cops are rotating towards.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
I'm on his side. Whatever he says, I'm ready for that.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
Correct. Go ahead.
Go ahead. Let's talk about it.
Literally.
Now, the only reason why is because I'm not gonna give you my opinion quite yet. But what would you say to people that think, well, okay, everything that's going on hasn't really been a female situation. Like, most of the shootings have been male cops involved, and
white male cops.
So the issue we're seeing right now isn't really a female problem. It's more of a racist white cop problem.
No, I think it's a multi-level issue.
Right.
I'm not dismissing that, right? I'm just touching because I think I don't know. That's just what came to my head when we talked about this, right? That's another issue, right? Like, are they capable of really doing this job, right? I know we're in the world right now where everything's equal rights, equal fights. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like everybody's on the same, but in reality, it's not. Like, bro, like some people are just born stronger than others. Like I'm 5'7", bro. I'm not built to be a cop. You feel me? Like, cause what am I gonna do? Some 6'8" dude just try to like
You gonna shoot
come
him.
at me, like
but
going for the ankles. You feel me? Like,
ankle biter. But listen to how you're phrasing it though. You're basically putting it into a box. Like police officers have to be physical. They have to be violent. They have to be strong.
no, I'm not saying. No, I'm not saying that. No, so maybe
Right.
you're misreading me. But go ahead.
Yeah, all right. So let me respond how I thought you meant that.
Okay.
I feel like that's not the only use of a police officer. You know. So when
I get what you're saying. I'm right now. What I'm talking about is worst case scenario.
got you.
So I'm not talking about like obviously I think a cop should be able to defuse any situation before it gets physical to begin with. You know what I mean? Like that's I'm literally talking about the worst case scenarios because that's what we kind of just touched upon.
Cops can't distinguish between a sandwich and a gun.
And a gun, yeah. So literally, what chance do we have? Well, I feel like
that.
I feel like if it's worst case scenario, cops got a whole Batman utility belt of things they can use on you.
No,
so
for sure.
yeah.
But even before that, because think about it. To get tased, right? People don't realize how dangerous getting tased is. Like I work at a hospital. A lot of people have pacemakers. A lot of people have heart issues. So when you get tased, electricity runs through your heart.
That's a good point.
And that could shut you down literally right there. That could shut down a pacemaker. So that could kill you on the spot.
That's a fact.
So when I tell obviously you could pepper spray somebody, right? But like I just feel like as a police officer, how many police officers have you seen that are literally like couldn't run a mile if like their life depends? Like you gotta be. This is a job where you like. I know you have to pass a physical test when you first get high, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, like, what's the joke, right? They all eat donuts. Like,
donuts.
It should be the joke should be they all eat celery.
It should be like a license. You gotta take that test every so often. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Stay in shape.
I think they do. Do they?
They do. I don't.
so.
By the look of it,
I done seen
sometimes.
some.
I don't know.
They hiring stunt doubles out there. Some shit, 'cause it's like
I don't know.
No, I think they just lower the qualifications. Like,
but why? Like that's
because
dumb shit right there.
as you get older, like you're not able to run
but
as fast.
maybe as a
and
cop,
to
there should be a cutoff limit for a cop as
Really?
an age.
Yeah, maybe.
Like you shouldn't be a cop in like 60 or 55. Like you're fragile. I mean, not like everybody, but like you're getting to that age where like you're more prone to get hurt.
I wonder how the military does it. Maybe they have like a limit. You know what I mean? Like after 40, you gotta get ranked up or something.
Okay,
You know?
maybe that's a good way to do it. But we kind of just went definitely in a little.
No, I want to get back to the female cop
go
situation.
ahead.
So I feel like I've personally witnessed examples of when it was better to have a female
Really?
officer. Yeah, like
Okay.
someone spazzing out, like, and I feel like some male cops might come with,
That
some
testosterone.
vigor. You know, that testosterone. Like, what's going on? Hey, calm down. Da da da. And sometimes you don't need that. Sometimes you need someone to be a little bit more sensual, understanding.
I see what
and
you're
that
saying.
has benefited the situation.
I see what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
But in my personal experience, also what I've noticed, right, with some female cops is,
Mhm.
I feel like once you join a boys club, you have to fit in now, right? Now you have to I can't let these dudes see me as a weak
that
woman.
toughness.
So
gotta
now
kick
I
in,
feel like
yeah.
some female cops, and I've seen this like my personal experience, like go hard as fuck, like all right, like relax, like it ain't even that serious, like you don't got to be on nobody. But I feel like they're almost trying to prove themselves to be equals, and I feel like that's where like I could definitely understand like where you're coming from. And that's probably the case most times, right? But what I'm talking about is worst case scenario. Like, what is it better to have, right? A female cop or a male cop? If it comes to the worst situation where you got to get physical, that's where I think there's an issue for me.
Yeah.
Personally, from my opinion, I really don't think whether female or male, I think the best case scenario is just a trained cop. I think that regardless of whether it be male or female, you could fuck up either way. Apprehending somebody, you could have a fat guy that just is not capable of doing it. So what are we going to do? We're not going to hire fat cops? Are we not going to hire old cops? Like,
it's exactly what we shouldn't do. No,
honestly, that's what
but then
realistically
realistically speaking, it's not.
He's got a point.
Realistically speaking, that's not possible.
I think it honestly is.
If you're a 5 foot tall guy, you shouldn't be a cop.
Realistically, that's not possible, bro.
It's-
There's no way that you could do a physical
Hold on.
test. Somebody could pass a physical test.
If you're
telling me they just
7'8",
age
you
out of
shouldn't be a
being
cop.
like a street
What
officer.
if man wanted to be a cop his whole life, but you can never go past
I,
level 2?
I wanted
You
to be a
know,
basketball player, bro.
Bro,
You right. You can still play ball.
Nah, yo,
You can still play ball.
I wanna be in the NBA.
but you don't get paid for it. Yo, a lot of jobs have very strict requirements to fit it, right? Some are physical, some are mental. But why is this one job that is so dangerous? The requirements are so low.
Good
Right,
point.
yo, that
Very
comes-
good
That's what I'm
point.
saying. Like, I
That
think
comes
that there
back
should
to
be
my question.
there should be a system of better trained cops. Like,
Yeah.
like he said, whether it be you have to have a college degree, and then you also have to have certain amount of training after, because I feel like that would weed out like the bad weeds, the people that are just doing it just to do it because they were just high school fucking dropouts and needed a job.
And you should
But-
know the people that you're policing too.
Right.
Like, don't just-
Absolutely. That's
It
my
should be on a personal
biggest
level.
point.
And then there also has to be some level of accountability. What I think right now
absolutely.
lacks is that every kind of answering to kind of go off of what you said. I think there's no real plan of action. Like you said, like if something comes up, your goal is to have like a press conference or to have, you know, people come out and talk about it. But I mean, those are just words, and there's no real action. There's no real discipline for these cops that are
Or
fucking up.
it takes too long, yo. I
Exactly.
feel like a lot of
That's the
people,
key.
obviously, yo, if someone gets killed, right, you want immediate action. You don't want a trial.
Right.
Like the George Floyd trial is going on right now, right? Like
Right.
how long ago did that happen? Like 7 months, 8 months?
9 months. Yeah.
9
months
months?
ago. Yeah.
So
the
like
thing-
actually, yeah. So
See, the thing is, like, for not to cut you off on, and I don't want to go on a tangent, but for me personally, like, it kind of hits home because I have a trained job that I have to work. I have to go through a certain training,
Mhm.
not extensive like a police officer in any means, but I have the okay to put my hands physically on somebody. But best believe, like, if I mistreat somebody in any way or that causes them to lose their life or injury, I'm losing my job, and I'm
Bro,
also being sued as
same
a
here.
regular person. And I feel like it's not the same for cops. Like, I feel like they do have this gang backing in a sense where they can pretty much get away with murder, as we see, and nothing really happens. Yeah, they go to
Like,
trial.
You good, cuz? You good?
Exactly. Yeah, they go to trial. Yeah, they go through the hoops and the
Unpaid,
ha-has.
unpaid
Unpaid-
leave.
Unpaid
Yeah,
leave,
yeah,
unpaid leave, whatever type of leave it is, they don't really get tried the same way as a civilian does. I think that's a problem, and I don't think that the people higher up are attentively showing that
That's
attention.
that's a
That's
valid
a
point
fact.
because, like, a lot of things, right? Cops be like, well, we're dealing with like the worst type of people, right? Like, I work at a hospital, right? Like, bro, I think people in general, at their healthy state, are assholes, right? Imagine dealing with people when they're sick.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, I deal with people like when they're feeling like shit. You feel me?
Yeah.
And they come in the hospital thinking it's a fucking hotel, like requesting all types of shit, thinking like
Yeah.
we got like mad people to see, right? Yo, I've literally been scratched. I've been punched by like a patient. Yo, and I tell you right now, if I swing back, like they not backing me. They're like, whoa,
Exactly.
get this
You're
man.
on
Like
your own.
I'm getting fired. I'm probably
Mhm.
getting fired. Like I'm probably gonna get blackballed. Like my license might get taken. So so like I deal with like people that like are drug addicts, are fucking like in the worst state of life, and they talk to us like, bro, I've literally had so much racist shit said to my face, and like you just gotta like, yeah,
we're not trying to
Tough.
shit on cops because the first thing
Kinda
that
seems
something
like it.
bad, the first thing that if something bad happens, what's the
Yeah,
first thing you
somebody's
do?
shooting on your street.
What's the first thing you do? You call a
You
You
gonna
gonna go out
911
there
run,
and
right?
shoot with them?
And
No,
hope-
you're gonna call the
and
police.
hope that they come in a
Yo, you
timely
hope that
manner.
they show
Timely
up.
manner.
I go to bed.
What do you
Like
think about
regular
that though?
shit.
Like, why do you think people just always allude to calling cops?
Well,
Is it
well, that's in and of itself.
Right.
Like, it depends on what type of time. Yeah, what type of time are you on? Like even if I want to fight somebody, I'm not gonna do it because there's ramifications for it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So I'm not to say like if you come to my house, I'm gonna call the police or nothing like that. But there's certain instances where you don't feel like you have control of the situation. Someone else should have control of the situation. Like if you see somebody getting beat up across the street by their
Right.
girlfriend, you're not gonna be like, "Hey," and go grab her by the back of the head. You're gonna be like, "That's not me."
I'm gonna close
You know
my
what I
door
mean?
and go back to sleep.
Yeah, some people do that. Other people,
You're part
if
of
it's
the problem.
reversed,
It's not my problem. Yo, she did something to deserve that.
somebody gonna take a picture of how you in the back, like
Right.
running away or something.
Nah.
Yeah.
So, but all right, just to get back on track.
I don't know.
So, what are some things like since you've been working like under the center that you've learned that you just had no idea about?
I think the biggest like eye opener has been the difference from town to town. So I work in 17 to 18 towns and cities in a sense. Like pretty much from Greenwich to like Trumbull, I'll say is my area of the state in a sense. Yeah.
Where are you guys based out of?
So we're based out of Hartford.
Oh,
we
the
have
capital.
we have a DC office. Yeah.
Okay.
We're not in the Capitol building. We're actually, ironically, in the Colt building, which is where they used to build guns. It's actually really funny.
Okay.
But you know, the Democratic leadership is all against gun control. So that's where it comes in funny. But you guys didn't laugh. So. so
He slapper, man.
I'll give you one later. I got you. I'll give you guys one later. But
he's funny in real life, right? That's just,
honestly, I'm not gonna lie to you.
this-
I didn't make the connection.
So that's what some people don't catch it.
Somebody who knows what you're talking about is over
Somebody
there
heard
just
the Colt
cracking
bill
up
and was
right
like, "Oh my god," so pretty much.
gonna be you watching this shit later laughing.
How didn't they get it?
All right, here we go. All right, it's coming out.
Yeah. What was the question? I see how people get sidetracked. These are some long conversations, huh?
Yeah. Just
Like pretty much what I've learned.
Yeah,
right?
like cool things or like just things that you didn't even know. You said like from town to town, like the
Right. So one thing that was like eye opening to me was the level of attention and interest people give to specific issues. Like in Greenwich, like something that might be small to us or small in this room,
Right.
like the whole town will get behind it and fight about that issue.
Like they'll work as a unit.
Yeah, because they're
in
rich.
a sense, like one side or the other. All right, so
They're rich. They got a lot of stake in the game.
What is the self-interest?
I think it's self-interest, and I also think they have opportunity to do things. You know what I mean? And we're not focused on the right things, or we're working constantly, or you got kids to take care of, this, that, and the third. But I feel like in Westport, for example, like right now they're fighting about whether they should have affordable housing or like multiple units in one house, and they're worried about what it could do to the character of the town. You know, that's like something that we can't fight about. Like,
they don't want niggas there. That's
There
the
you
problem.
go. There you go. That's
See how I politicized it? Like, there's specific ways that people talk about things.
Yo,
we
it's
can
like,
catch
yo,
the
it's
language.
funny, yo, because these be the same people that's be real liberal and tell like, wait, hold on, who's moving in? Well, let's just.
I voted for Obama for 2 terms.
Affordable health care.
You don't know how many times I heard that. Like my first month, I was like, I don't
Okay.
care. Like I did too, but like I'm not telling people.
Like you said, like I feel like
Hey,
it's
Trey.
Yeah, like we're buddies now. I'm like,
try to dap you up.
do I know you?
I think that it's because they, like you said, they just have the time. A lot of the issues that we have on our end of the spectrum is funding, and if money related. And Greenwich, they don't need money per se.
Well,
Like,
you'd be surprised.
really,
I think everybody in the state is asking for money. So when you think, oh, we don't got money for the potholes, like every other town is experiencing some sort of similar issue. So like, I think there's something a little bit more macro to consider there, because we don't connect our issues to like Watertown's issues. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like as a town,
you
like,
don't care.
yeah, you don't.
I mean,
but you could have some of the same problems and
Okay.
solve it together, and we don't have that same type of mindset. You know what I mean?
I have a small question. Why are you involved in the housing in Greenwich? Like, isn't that more of like a city problem?
Well, yeah. So the town
funding,
pretty
right?
much handles it, but our job is to keep track of things before they come up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if that's going to be a bigger issue, and we want to talk, we want to speak on it, or have some sort of sway
Okay.
as to where things go, or just let people know that we understand what's going on in their
Right.
town. Like there might be certain things that you could think of right now, like, man, people don't even care about that.
Yeah.
But there's people like me in some sort of office that are paying attention to that. We
Okay.
just don't always have the resources to like look into it, or it might not be the top priority at that time for the elected representative.
Yeah.
Like there's issues that I specifically care a lot about.
Like
Yeah.
what?
But-
What do you care about?
Like, so specifically housing, things that people are talking about a lot more now, like providing programs and opportunities for youth inside of Waterbury. Like, I feel like times are different. Now there's a lot of, connectivity technology or whatever. But before then, you had to kind of figure out like what you're going to do. If you're going to play sports, like
Mhm.
who are you going to hang out with after school? Like you had to figure out, what opportunities you wanted to take.
Right.
And I feel like now it's more of like, oh, let's get on the game, like, social media, like everybody's stuck to their phones. They don't have as much, a different type of connectivity and
Different
activity.
priorities.
Yeah, priorities in a sense.
So
So we have to make some of those like, and I feel like in my, not to cut you off, but
No,
in
go
my
ahead.
world, I had to be forced to be into things, and now look where it's taking me. It's like something that I just run with in a sense.
Right.
Okay.
And a lot of people aren't directed, or a lot of children or students aren't directed with solid guidance from an earlier age to have these sort
Well,
of
you were
avenues.
fortunate to have family that cared enough.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. I feel like we put a lot of emphasis on the schools, we put a lot of emphasis on this, that, and the third. But really, as role models, as people we can look up to.
We be blaming Cardi B for this shit. Like
Sometimes I be mad at her. I'm like, come on, Cardi. Like, these little girls doing the same
but
thing.
yo,
like,
I'm a father, and I don't hold any celebrity accountable for anything. You feel me? Like,
Right.
Everything is literally comes
you hold
to
it
me.
to the parents,
Like,
right?
no, it's me. Like, yo, what my son does is like,
Absolutely.
is on me. Like, if he shouldn't be watching that shit, he's not gonna watch that shit.
But how right now it's difficult. But how often are you usually around your son? Like when
I
he's in
was gonna say that,
school,
yeah.
when he goes to whatever practice. Like there's a lot of opportunities that they could be molded that we don't realize.
Yo, for sure, and that's part of life, right? Like same thing with me. But as I'm a very involved dad. So even though my son might, cause he'll come home, say some new shit I never heard of. I'm like, yo, like what the fuck you talking about? Like where you heard this shit
Where'd
at?
you get that at?
But
Yeah.
at the same time, like I always guide him back to where he's supposed to be. Obviously, like I can't predict the future, and I don't know like if my teachings are really gonna carry on. But I do my best, and like as far as I know, so far,
Yeah.
I have a very smart 7-year-old that's like on his like little
Yeah,
shit.
I
you
met him.
feel
I was
me?
like, this dude, he's smart. Like it seems like he's older than he is in a sense.
Exactly. Yo, but that's
Yeah.
like that didn't happen. You feel me? Like
Yeah.
me and his mom, like yo, we've been teaching him how to read, or she's been teaching him how to read since he was like 4. Like
Yeah.
I do math problems with him now that are like beyond what his school's teaching him.
Yeah.
So yo, and he's gonna get into his like little, trends and all that shit. You feel me? But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, like if my teachings are correct, like that's what's gonna stick with him.
What percentile do you feel like you're in? Like, are you in the top
Oh, that's a
percentile of
great
parents?
question.
What?
Like, are other people doing what you're doing? Is what I'm saying. Like,
That's
you're in
a-
a
yo,
small
I
percentage.
can't, y'all see me. What like that's like one of those things, right? If you ask somebody, like I'm obviously gonna give myself
Right,
the same
right,
thing.
yeah.
So I'm not gonna as y'all see me as a dad. Like what would y'all say?
I would say that you're definitely in the top percentile.
It seems rare, is
yeah.
what I'm saying. Like,
But the thing
he
is, I feel like
definitely is.
how many people can be in your position? Like, there's a lot of people that are
Everybody's pretty simple.
not
Nah.
really. There are a lot of people are like single
Some
parents that
people
are
in
working a
scrubs
lot.
make money, so some
Exactly.
people don't make that money. Like, you know what I mean?
Bro,
So there's
I-
opportunities
I
and
look at this,
disadvantages.
I look at this, right? I don't have that much time. Like I don't have that much free time. I
Mhm.
work a lot. I make
Mhm.
money because I work a lot. So sometimes my time with my son is very limited,
Mhm.
but the time I have with him is very impactful.
Yep.
So a lot of people that you're saying, oh, they don't make enough money, they have even more time with their kids.
No, I'm saying the people that are making ends meet by working 2 jobs. I feel like personally for me, like my mother, she was never home. So a lot of times she was always out trying to make an income for the house. So a lot of the times I had to learn things on my own. Like I had to teach myself how to read at like 9 years old. Like up until 9, didn't know how to read one word. And then like all of this, like I learned a lot from like my friends.
That's the school system failing us, bro.
But no, but like, honestly, I really had no.
That one's kind of a mix. I
Right.
see where, but by 9, like if you've been in school, like you should learn
Yeah,
some
yeah,
shit.
yeah.
I mean,
That's
but
the
you know,
school
like
system
system
you out.
failing.
maybe not 9, maybe I'm dragging it like 7, 8, like somewhere
All
around
right,
there.
all right.
But like,
Yo, I'm
Valid
gonna make you read a book after this shit. I'm curious. I didn't know this
Out
about you.
loud.
but like I learned-
Don't argue with me again.
I was actually really delayed in reading because I excelled in math. But anyways, that's a whole nother fucking topic. But
trenches.
a lot of times like I had to raise myself. Like I came home from after school program if there was an after school program, and when there wasn't, I was just home and left to do what like I needed to do.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, and I feel like that's where there's a mix of like people that the kids that go left because like they get into shit.
I'm
and
not
like, get
denying
fucked
that.
up.
What I'm saying is, like, from my personal experience, I see a lot of parents that have a lot of free time with their kids, right? But what do? Yo,
Right.
here's an iPad.
Yeah.
Go
Strictly
go
that.
go do your thing for the next 6 hours. Like,
For real.
mommy about to get lit. Like,
And in those 6 hours, not even like in an hour a day, you could put your kid on the path to be successful.
exactly,
Right.
bro.
You know what
It's
I mean?
it's such simple shit, bro. Like, we'll make my son read like 5 pages of a book every night
Yeah.
before he go to bed.
Yeah.
We're not making him read a novel. Like, we're not trying to make the next Einstein. You feel me?
Yeah.
That should be fucking awesome. But like,
I'll tell you, I was similarly raised. Actually, like kind of like both of y'all. So my mother had 2 jobs.
Mhm.
So my
Well,
siblings kind of raised me in a
Right.
sense, but they had me reading Hooked on Phonics like 4th grade when I was in 2nd
see,
grade.
like
You know what I mean?
my
Like-
I had both my parents growing up, but my childhood was very similar to yours.
Got
Like
you.
when I tell you, I would see my mom maybe like my parents maybe in the morning, and then maybe at like that little gap. You feel me? Like I had to go to school, get back home by myself. But because they just literally work from sunrise to sundown.
But on a personal level,
that's like from age, like as long to this day, like they don't like they work. Bro, people be thinking I work hard. Like y'all should see the hours my parents put in. You feel me?
Yeah.
But I mean, we had conversations and like some of the stuff, like a lot of stuff that we both did. Like we grew up as like fucking bad kids and like just getting into mischief. And I feel like that's the reason why. Like they really had like no guidance versus like somebody whose parents are in the household. I'm not gonna say it's every person's case. I'm not gonna say
you guys
that.
weren't bad kids. You guys was just misguided. But go ahead. Trey.
Like I was, bro. Honestly, like looking back at it, like if there was two options in front of me, like good and bad, I would like it was like in my genes to choose the bad.
Exactly.
Like, bro, it was like sometimes I do believe there are bad kids. When I tell you like I would just I chose violence every morning. Like every morning, I was like, what can we fuck up today?
Now, do you think that if your parents were more involved, that you would have done?
Honestly, I don't even know, bro, because I was really just like on some terrorist shit back then. But what really got me right was sport.
Lost
like,
cause, man.
With sport.
Right.
As soon as I started running track, like boom, like shit just clicked. I'm like, damn, I want to fuck. I like this shit.
Imagine that. Imagine if every kid, let's say, had a spark like that. Like, oh, this is what I want to do.
I think every kid is possible. That's definitely
absolutely.
But sometimes you need funding, right? Like you need after school programs. You need all this shit.
Yeah, for me it was always money, man. I had to get money.
Yeah,
I had to figure out a way to
somehow
get
we found
like
a way, though, right?
That's the
finance.
You want to go to a party, you find that money somehow.
I needed a car. I was literally trying to get money to make more money.
Right.
Oh,
like
gotcha.
how
you had an investor state of mind
always
very early.
Yeah, very early.
Yo,
I guess to kind of not to cut you off, but to kind of get back on track, like is there any benefits in being in politics to be in politics?
First of all, what's the pay like?
I heard the pay is horrible.
Ooh, let's talk about it.
I'm good.
You're not gonna get
but when you starting off,
Hold on, open up your shit real quick.
What you want? What's the change?
I mean, it's a little change. How good are you?
This is the gift. This is the gift. This is the gift.
Why you shit on this change?
I don't even like buying jewelry.
Honestly, the little one for me
got a
is
choker on.
This is the gift.
You funny, nah, it drags.
Let my man
I just wanted
That's
to
a
see
Rolly?
it. Nah, this is Nixon, you know? They close.
I fuck with it. I got Nixon too.
Thank you, bro. We in the same
It's a
bracket,
struggle.
I
It's a
think.
struggle watch, but let's.
Mine is a gift.
No, but I do hear that people in politics get paid like crap. Like especially
give us a
tier.
range.
So,
Entry level.
What's
Entry
all right,
level.
how long have you been in before you?
So I'd start. So officially, not including the campaigns and all that I did when I was young, I've been in my position for 2 years.
2 years. Oh, so you're really new.
Very.
So, like, what's the opening salary?
So opening salary for someone that I would say mine is like not necessarily entry level. It's like kind of second tier.
Okay.
So entry level would probably be like low 30s to low 40s.
That's
in a
poverty.
sense.
Ooh.
That's poverty.
Yeah, and some jobs are offered in DC where the cost of living is just so much higher. You know what I mean? Like the rent is crazy. You know what I mean? So you got to live with roommates and make it work just so you can get that experience, so then you can get the next role or whatever.
Yo, so really you don't start making money till like the high, like, so to
Yeah.
start. Yo, so to
you're
start
not in
off
it for money.
Yo, to start off in the politics, you
Unless
gotta
if you get
really,
bribed.
like you really.
Yeah,
struggle, like,
some people at some point.
That's why they gotta take these bribes.
You start off broke.
That's why I can't get into politics till I take it.
Oh,
Yo, Chapo, let me know, Chapo. I'll open the borders for you.
I get bought.
I get bought easily.
Yeah,
Bro,
so
all this pipeline shit. Like I put a pipeline through your house. You pay me enough.
I don't even think a lot of like corruption comes for the dollar amount. I think it comes for everything else that you get from it. Like connections, what? People get to know who you are. You get a sense of popularity and like there's like when one of the politicians
like
walks into the room,
clout.
People are like staring at him. You know,
so like celebrities type.
Celebrities
shit.
For real. It's
Okay.
like I imagine it like a hot Instagram chick. When they walk in the room, people are like, "Oh, that's what you call it." You know what I mean? So,
have you gotten that? Have you ever walked somewhere yet and be like, "Oh, that's"?
I have, and
that's Trey from the heartbeat.
It's different. It's really different. Like, so they know me by the name of my office or whatever. So when I walk into a room, people kind of respect me, not in the same sense as a senator, but they're like, "Oh, this guy represents him." You know what I mean? So I get some of that. And at first, I was like, "Man, it took me back a little bit because one, I'm not used to it. Two, I'm obvious when I walk into the room. You know, black kid in a suit or whatever in a room full of dinner guests.
How is that like in actual?
It can be good.
No, I'm saying like, are you like one out of like how many of us are in there?
Yeah, so there's probably 2 black men in the senator's office that work.
Out of how many?
In total the office, there's probably like 47 of us. So then I would say there's 3 of us because I'm counting DC. But in like Hartford, it's like 17 of us or whatever. But it's rare for someone to get a position.
Gotta get the numbers up.
Yeah. Like,
but how many black people really want to be in politics?
That's the catch.
Hopefully, a lot after y'all watch this shit.
I hope so. I hope at least somebody's just interested. Like, maybe I'm not interested.
We might have.
I like what you said.
We might have ruined it when we just told them what the fucking starting rate was.
Yeah, people are interested in the money right now. You could go into coding, chill at your house, and make more money. But you have to have sort of a bigger passion. You got to be like I need to change this.
You really enjoy. Your heart's in this shit. Like you're in it for the right
McDonald's
place.
paying $15 an hour right now.
That's close. That's real close.
Yeah, I know.
So when I started that.
Do you get any benefits from being in politics?
Like I said, there's like a social benefit to it.
No, I'm like I what I got on your question like a pension,
like not only
great
that,
health insurance,
like great health insurance, any like
tax breaks,
maybe you get the travel expenses covered or anything.
Well,
like
if
that.
it's specific to the job, so because I do a lot of driving, they cover my personal miles, which
company
can be
credit
nice
card
sometimes.
or something like that.
No, not exactly. So there are benefits like health and all that specific, just like any job in a sense. It's not like lucrative. It's not like, I feel like I got in on y'all.
Right.
Like, I'm making more percentage on my 401k. It's not like that. It's really the social elements and, being within the know and doing things for people that give you the benefit of the position. And everything else is kind of like you work at a corporation in a sense. But, sometimes you get first dibs on things. Like, for example, the vaccine. I didn't get first dibs, but they were like, we have a few extras, but you'd have to go down to DC and cover it on your own pace. I was like, I'm good on that. I'm good on that. But, you get some afforded opportunities in a sense. Okay. It's just not too different.
So what's the end goal for you? Like, where do you see yourself ending?
He wants to be president.
So, honestly, I've been asked that question a lot, and I feel like my answer changes more often than you would think. But specifically, these last 2 years have been like eye-opening. When I get to understand our issues, I get to understand how our issues affect, different cities around us, but also how their issues take away from some of the things that we're trying to do. But I think the end goal for me would be to have some sort of, weight in local politics. Like I want to be able to
a mayor.
Like what what position,
bro? You got to go all the way up.
I think like a city manager, like town manager. I don't know. State rep would be very interesting because you can have a hand in what the trajectory of the whole state. It's not just like, I just focus on Waterbury. Like you're using Waterbury as like a case study for what could benefit the entire state. Okay. So I feel like something where I could actually give back to my city, I'm willing to step in.
And like kind of pretty much like you have the final say in a sense, or like you can actually make change.
Well, I don't know if I need the final say. I think everything's gonna be collaborative. Like I want to be on a team based kind of thing. But I still want to have some weight on me because I think in politics and like most things, like when you have pressure on you, you perform more expeditiously or a little bit better. Like I know there's probably a billionaire online that said it, but he was like, if I really want to get something done, I just start it immediately, and that's like kind of my advice in anything. Okay, like just start, and then you could put certain pressures on yourself, like. Some people put themselves in a debt or whatever. Some people I make promises or whatever. I say I'm going to call 50 people this week. I make sure to do that because now it's the pressure on myself. You know what I mean?
All right. So before we wrap this up, I do have one more question.
This is the worst one. I feel it.
I think it's the question it's an issue that everyone in Connecticut that fucking works has. Yeah. What's up with our taxes, bro? What the fuck is up with these taxes?
No comment. Man. Connecticut, although we have a surplus, there's a lot of money that they have saved up. We charge a lot in taxes. They're specific to like mill rates. So specifically, Waterbury gets, I don't know, they get charged maybe like $3 every 2,000. So like, let's say this place was worth $150K or whatever. Like
one day,
yeah, you'll have to pay like $4,500 in taxes. The taxes are so high because the city has a lot of specific needs. but also like, you know, we don't have a lot of real estate being used up. So that makes it a little bit more taxing on the people that do own the real estate, for example.
Okay.
So taxes are really high in all parts of Connecticut. I can't give you the exact answer, but
except Greenwich.
It has to do with
except Greenwich.
Their taxes are relatively high too, but just not in the same aspects.
Like around the office, like do you guys be like, yo, like let's like can we, what's up, Senator? Like can we lower our shit? Like y'all talk about this shit.
No.
Like,
we talk about stuff, but never like how can we, you know, do better, get more than anybody else. Because you have to really come into it like with a purity.
Okay.
Or else you end up in those like scandalous things, like, or people know about you and they kind of stay away from you. Like politics is like putting your personality on your sleeve. Like everybody's gonna know what you are, like what you know, what your interests are. Some people don't necessarily know your motives, but you know, it depends on how careful you are. Like it can be a sticky game.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, what I got at that.
These
shits ain't going
I can't tell you about the taxes. Ask somebody to get paid more than me.
Before we wrap it up, do you want to leave like any contact info for the people out there watching, like to call you for issues or like your Instagram, Facebook, like you know how did the people get in contact with you specifically?
Absolutely. So if you want to get in contact with me from a professional standpoint, you can reach out to the Senator Murphy's office. You go on their website, find contact information. On a more personal note, you know, Traybino is my IG. You can look me up on Facebook, Trayvonn Diaz. I'm interested in talking to anyone that's really interested in politics and wants to do better for our city. I'm here for it.
Thank you for coming out.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Enlightening us on a lot of shit about everything, honestly.
Talked about everything, yes sir.
Yeah. Talked about it. As always, please like, subscribe, share, comment. Stay tuned.
My team soon up hard like we play for Penn State. Mama told me keep on grinding, you'll go far. You was destined to be a star.